Good morning, good morning, good morning. You are tuned into the Optimal You right here on HGG Radio, the YouTube segment. And you know, the YouTube segment is the talking segment. That segment where you are free to jump onto the YouTube and share your comments. Also, you are free to jump on the WhatsApp and share your feedback. And the WhatsApp number is 825-343-4486. And you are listening to the Optimal You with yours truly, Renee, your life coach and host. And we have some guests today to talk about the things them. Yes, we're going to be talking about some stuff today. And so I'm going to invite my guests up. First, I have Mr. Doctor Tiffany McBean. Before I say Mrs. I want to put the doctor forward. One of my lovely daughters, Carla White. And this Carla is at work, so we have to do what we're doing and do it. You understand? So we are here to have a talk. I don't know if Pastor Dale is coming, but if he is, well, we give God thanks. If he's not, happy Men's Day, Pastor Dale. So we want to talk today about the matter of Christmas traditions and our faith. But before we go any further, I want to invite Carla, then Dr. McBean to introduce themselves, tell us who they are, which church they go to, and things like that. Right.
Good day. Oh, so that's me first.
Yes.
Okay, good morning. I'm Carla White. I am a member of Faith Assembly of God. That's in Portmore, Wines Park. Bishop Brackett is my pastor. Well, I'm a single mother of two, and I am a rural girl, so I'm a country girl. I was brought up in the country, and so I am used to Christmas in the country setting. So I'm excited about sharing some of the things that I learned from my grandmother and that I have come to teach my kids as well. So I look forward to sharing. Thank you.
Lovely. Dr.
And
Tiffany.
I'm Dr. Tiffany McBean. I will be joined with my husband, so it says McBeans at the bottom, and we pastor together in Orlando, Florida, at Fountain of Truth International Ministries. Christmas is my absolute favorite time of year, and so I'm excited to talk about it today and how it ties in with my faith in God.
All right. So to kick it off, the first question we want to ask, and let me say, this is not this is a discussion. It's a relaxed conversation. Okay, just a relaxed conversation. So the question I want to ask first and foremost, what is your favorite Christmas tradition, and how does it reflect your Christian faith? Who wants to go first? Anybody?
I'll take it first. So my favorite tradition is Christmas morning service. Well, it's two of them: Christmas morning service and watching the story of the birth of Jesus.
Mhm.
The reason being is it's something that you can identify with in terms of how the whole birth of Jesus, interacting with your kids. It's easy to pass on to them.
Mhm.
The Christmas morning service is from the country. Always have to get up early, early in the morning to go out. I think it's usually like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And our grandmother, she was paralyzed, so couldn't go, but she always wake us up, wake up, wake up. And we make the busy tea or the hot chocolate tea and we drink and warm up and then we
Visiting?
walk to church. Yes,
Them visiting a
busy.
medicine.
No, no, them times I would drink it with milk. And it's nice with the milk. And you warm up and yes, and you go walk out with your sweaters and everything. You go to church and you worship and you come back. And then by the time you get home from church now in the mid morning, everybody would come down from town and then the big cooking and the big eating and all of that. So everybody would come for us to
Yeah.
have Christmas dinner together and all that. So that is good. And then in the evening, I don't know. We normally have it was radio back then when I was young. It was radio. I think it was a JVC or RJ, one of them radio station there, and you'd listen to them tell the stories. But as we got older, you had TVJ and so forth, then you watch the story of Jesus on the TV
It's
after you have the dinner.
not
Yes, and
easy.
so those were very nice times for us, and so that for me is still the favorite, and we still do that when my mommy is here. We still go to the country, we go to Christmas morning service. COVID kind of caused a lag in it, but we did online and we still had the gatherings when we could. But it allows you to appreciate the gift that God gave to us, the appreciation of family and love and sharing, and that's important for us to focus on when it's Christmas time. Thank
Mm,
you.
thanks. Dr. Tiffy.
Yeah.
Hi, Pastor
Yes,
Dale.
there's a there, and Dale's right here. Pastor Dale is right here. So it was interesting to hear that a lot of the her favorite parts of Christmas revolved around people, and our triune God is a God of community. My favorite tradition is baking with my mom. She would fill a mackerel keg of batter for Christmas pudding and for Christmas cakes. So we'd have our rum cake or pudding, or Christmas pudding and our Christmas cakes, all from one batter, just depending on if she puts water in the stove while it's being baked, and it would change the texture of it. What I liked about that, so I have four sisters and we take turns rubbing the sugar and butter by
Mm,
hand, not a mixer. There was something about doing it by hand, my mom said, and so we would give all our energy to that. Music would be going on in the background. That time of year is very cool. The weather is very cool. So it was time of music. It was time of cooler weather in Jamaica and baking. And my favorite part of the baking process would be licking the batter, whatever is left. So I always
definitely.
remind her not to scope everything out.
But but in terms of your faith, how does
So
that particular tradition, or if there are any other tradition that you would consider those would have been some reflecting your faith as a Christian?
so also with praying in the morning. So before we could open our Christmas gifts, we would have to have our time of prayer. And so
Uh,
it was right around breakfast time. So we'd pray, we'd give God thanks for the things that He's done for us. We would be reminded that Jesus is the reason for the season and not the
mhm.
gifts that you're about to get under the tree. And so it was always reiterated to us as children that the reason we're doing all of this is that Jesus died on the cross. He came to die. He was born to die. So it solidifies our faith in God with all the things that were done around about Christmas time.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Let me say, you are listening to the Optimal You, the YouTube segment right here on HGG Radio. Our persons in the chat is saying, welcome, guest. Sister Andrea says, welcome to you. And Sister Jodian says, she loves the butter. That is one of her
Yes,
faves, to get the
I'm with
butter.
you, Julian. I'm with
Right?
you.
All right. So here's something I want you to be very imaginative now with this question. So if you could spend Christmas in biblical settings, you're going way back to Bethlehem, BC, right? And like Bethlehem and Nazareth, how would you celebrate it differently? This should be interesting.
Yeah, good evening. Good morning. I don't know if I would celebrate it differently because the authenticity of what it is from where it was, you can't take away from it. If
Mm,
we try to take away from it, we try to take away the essence of what God wanted it to be. God designed it to be in that way, that time, that season. Everything about it was what I would say would be what providential.
mm,
No room in the inn. God allowed that to be
true.
born in a stable. God allowed that. Um, I know we are modernized and we would have wanted to see the expectation of Christ in certain way, but God allowed every single aspect of it, and it was thought through by God to allow humanity to can appreciate who came for us, how he
And
came
the
for us,
humility.
and the humility of his birth
Mm-hmm.
still parades in our mind to remind us that he was from humble beginnings,
Right.
never made his humble beginnings shift who he was, and so it entrusts upon us to hold to that same character as Christians, no
Mm-hmm.
matter how where we are from or how great we have become. That humility part of how he
Of
was
the whole
born,
thing. Yeah.
how it characterized his life, and you could see
Mm-hmm.
it characterized his life. You could see the thread of it throughout his life, how he dealt with people,
Yeah, so if
because
we
he
shift, so in shifting it, it would mean that we would have been probably changing what Christmas is.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, would have been changing some of what we hold to be
important
um, important to the season.
foundation. Yes,
Yeah.
that is. Thank you for that, Pastor Dale. Because my imaginative mind run gone off long time and start strategize some things, and start to figure out some things. Yes, it's a Carla.
Yeah, I really wasn't looking at it how he was. I was thinking about if now if we're in Nazareth at that time, how we'd celebrate it, you know.
Yeah,
Those things could still happen. There would still be no room because it's a lot of excitement. People are out. If we should incorporate some of the stuff from now, then the whole grand market, the Christmas tree, the whole gatherings, and I assume that they gathered at that time too. And the whole caroling that some persons do in North America now, they go around and sing the carols and all of that. So it would be an interesting mix. I'm not sure about the
changing of
the
things.
back age then with the no amenities and some of the comforts that we have now. It would be a little bit more uncomfortable in some ways to celebrate it, but for the most part, once you have good people and you're all together and there's music and food, everything else will for just fade away for the moment. It's just joy and happiness. So
Yeah.
for me, if I was there, probably Bethlehem, you know, cool weather, we'll have it at that time too. And Christmas tree, food, music. I love the music now that we have. So some of the older hymns, they're good, really good. But I still like the new musics that we have now. So a little bit of now and then would still be good for me.
The new music's kind of deep, then very deep.
Yeah.
Very deep.
Yeah.
Do you have to want to chime in on that, Dr. Tiffy?
Yes, we would keep Christ at the center.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to respond to a question that's gonna ask of us to
To
transform
change.
or change things. Yeah. you
But
know.
but you know what's beautiful? What is beautiful, because yesterday I had a conversation on the YouTube segment with Bishop Butler, and we were talking about what people they're showing now in terms of Christmas, how it's really the traditions have really thinned out. It just thin right out. But hey, so somebody in the chat says I would find the manger. So the only difference is that she would find the manger where Jesus is. You would not have been allowed. Only the shepherds. So we jump to the other question for the interest of time. How do we keep Christ in the center of our Christmas celebration amidst the hustle and bustle of the city? We know it can become very overwhelming. We know it can be. We have a segment on budgeting, and we were talking about the budgeting, and the gentleman said that you need to start budgeting from January, or when Christmas ends, you start to budget from that time. I'm like, for what? So he's saying that even if you don't do all the elaborate things, somehow Christmas costs money. You just spend more
Yes,
at
it's
that
very
time.
commercialized.
Yeah, you
It's
just
very
find yourself
commercialized, but we have to remember, yeah, we have to remember the habits and disciplines of the Christian involves quiet time with God.
Mm-hmm.
So if we maintain the habit of waking up to give God thanks, setting aside time to worship, to reverence Him, to read from the scriptures, we're keeping Christ in the center. Yes, you're going to see additional commercials about things you want to purchase for your child, vacations you might want to go on. Yes, that's going to be there. But for the Christian, the bedrock of our faith is time with God. So
Mm.
I presume that it's somewhat easy for a Christian to keep Christ at the center by holding fast to or rhythm and routine of spending time with God.
Hmm. But before
Now
Sister
at
Carla chimes
church,
in, go ahead. Go ahead.
so at church, we have additional services. You might have an early morning service. You want to make sure that you're there for that one. Get your children involved. Invite your friends over who might not go to a church. You also have a watch night service. We have the tree lighting services. If your church does something like that, we have carols that we sing at church. We have a cantata. There are lots of additional activities embedded in that season at church. Get involved.
Mm-hmm. That before Sister Carla chimes in, because I like to run back to what we talked about. And we talked about that yesterday as well. Because Pastor Butler was saying one of the way to take your attention of what's happening at the other places outside is when you get involved in church. Get involved in the activities that are taking place in the church. But then we're talking about the tradition. If my mother used to do a particular thing at a particular time, I wasn't a Christian then. Now I'm a Christian. These traditions, how now am I going to then now fill it up with the Christian things? How am I now going to curve it? My money, I have to do a new sheet on my bed, new comforter, because that's what I'm used to. I've got to go. And it's that time I get a little bonus. So every spending is going to really take place at that time. How do I center, as you said to Dr. Tiffany, is that you center your thoughts, maintain your usual where Christ is the center. But what happens when it comes flushing, Carla? When it comes flushing on you, how do you say, this no, this is not, this is pushing too far? How you manage that?
Well, well, for me, one of the things you have to recognize is that within your household, there have to be a balance. And if you have recognized that the spending or the tradition of spending, it brings a toll on you at some point in time, either after or before, then you put a relevant budget into place and
Mm,
call that budget to what it ought to
it's
be.
budget.
Uh, right? And if there are some things that are not necessary for you to meet that expectation at the time, like for instance, you would cook two, 4 or 5 meats.
Whoo!
We for Christmas, I know for us we had beef, we had chicken, and we had fish, right? And if meat and we had ham.
But
Basically, we saw that. So we saw that basically when we looked at it, we had those things in place. If you are not able to manage all of those, then you work around. Mine wasn't around. Mine was around. Mine was kind of twisted because we could have gone country in on Christmas Day. When we were younger, we went to country on Christmas Day. When we got older, we entertained guests for Christmas Day. So my parents
mhm.
entertained guests for Christmas Day. So it could be a bank manager, their family, or doctor, his family,
Mm-hmm.
My
you
Yeah.
know.
manager didn't can carry some money.
So I'm just saying that when we
Yeah.
that's what we ended up seeing when we got older.
Mhm.
Those are the persons who we
Yeah.
would entertain.
Yeah.
Boxing Day, we would go back then and connect back with our family. So for me, it was a little bit different. For Christmas Day, we would have entertained. When we were younger, we would have gone to the country, probably spent Christmas Day with my mother's side of the family. Boxing Day, you spent it with my dad's side of the family. Or we had a combination of both, but we had a big party
Mhm.
because
But
my family was pretty large. Well, still
mhm.
is. So they had a big party. Um,
So it does so
um,
we'll cut you in a little bit, Pastor Dale, for the interest of time. But if that would mean that it is essential for your family to have a budget, based on what you're saying
yeah,
to me, it would be essential for your
yeah.
family to have a budget. You can't just spend willy nilly because by New Year's, oh God. So it is important. It would have been critical for your family to have a budget, and that is why you say. And you said something very important. You said that you need to know what you can manage, know if you can deal with that. So you saw that with your family, and probably you did a couple of years with your immediate family, and you're looking now and you say, but I don't need to do four meets. The boys are going to college or whatever, they're graduating and they're on their own, whatever. So I don't need to do four meets, and we don't have to invite the whole nation. As pastors, somebody might invite you, so you don't even have to
Well,
think about
I break the tradition. Like I said to my wife for the
it. You
last
go,
2 years.
Carla, give us
Right.
your 2 cents, Pastor Nathan. I break that. I agree.
No,
I agree with Pastor. I agree with him. You have to break it sometimes.
Carla, like I said to my wife the other day, find a trip, we're gone.
Just
I
the two
said
of you,
my two
nobody
sons,
else, no more expenses.
no, because my two sons, they're going to work the day after. So my eldest is not coming home. My
See there?
youngest is here. He's just going to hang out with his friends. So I
See
just
there?
said, find a trip, we're gone. At this point in time, it's not going to be there. They're older. I
Yes,
guess when they get married and they get all of that, then probably some
things will
things will come
change.
back together
Yeah,
that way. But for
yeah.
right now, yeah.
Carla, how do you handle the hustle and the
But
bustle and the
Carla break
tradition
the tradition.
No, I have break it.
that your family?
The only thing that I've held true to is watching the story of Jesus and trying to be in church that time. But the whole um gathering and being with a lot of people, that has been broken somewhat. Most Christmas now it's just me and my kids. We probably travel or do something that we wanted to do, and yes, budgeting is important. I was sharing in my group before that I have a monthly and a yearly budget. So if it didn't fit in the monthly one and it can't fit in the annual one, it's out, completely out. I'm not the one that get a whole lot of curtains and drapes when Christmas comes. When it's time to change them, I change them. I don't go all out and change everything in December. So probably because I'm an accountant, so I'm
Was
tight
just
with the figures. Yeah,
to
but
make that clear that she's a penny pincher, but you know, yeah,
The key thing to hold is, as they always tell us, Christ is the reason for the season, and not to overspend and to focus on love and sharing rather than the other festivities. Once you can help someone else to enjoy, to have a meal,
hmm,
and you remember to care and share. So once we hold that, all of the other tradition can go through the door.
true, true.
Yeah.
I have a double whammy question for you. So I want to know one Christmas or church or family tradition. Christmas church, we're talking about Christmas, I don't need to emphasize that. Family or church tradition that you hold to and you look forward to it every year. And I also want you to tell me, how do you explain the whole fun and faith-filled Christmas to your children? So before you do that, I want to say to the listeners, you are listening to the Optimal You right here on HGG Radio, and we're talking about the matter of Christmas traditions and our faith. All right, so time is going from us. So what? So go ahead and share. What
I,
you do
I
you
can
look
talk
forward
about
to, and how do you share with your children?
Yeah, I can talk about how I share with the children and then leave the other part of the question for yeah. So how
Carla.
I share it with the children, yeah, for Carla, because it's hard to think of tradition. It's very very different in my life. I'd have to explain it another time. But how I explain it to my children is all of what we're doing is because of Jesus, that he was born in the earth at a time when a savior was needed. Everyone was left to their reprobate mind. They did what was pleasing to them, and it was hard to find a connection between earthlings, us on earth, and the divine. And Jesus came as word
Mm.
so that we would have access to God the Father. And I'm constantly doing that. It's also easier for us because our children started out at Christian schools. And so what we're teaching at home and what we're teaching at church, because our children are
Right.
pastors' kids, they're also hearing it at school. So there was a great community instilling the word of God in our children. And they could tell that it was different. They had class parties, they were exchanging gifts. Was turkey and ham at school for lunch. That's not a norm. It's not sandwiches. They give something special for lunch. And we're always at church and doing things. And so I constantly tell them everything that you're seeing is when you think about a traditional Christmas song, it's going to be some kind of hymn. Yes, we have the Mariah Carey and we have all those things. But when you ask about traditional Christmas songs, it's a hymn and it's talking about Christ. So he is the reason for this season.
Lovely, lovely. Carla, how do you deal with them when it comes to the fun part and because they want to know more Rudolph and Santa Claus as it relates to Jesus Christ?
Well, my kids know that Santa Claus ain't real. um, yes, they get the Christmas tree and the pepper lights and the empty boxes under the tree decorated. But they also know that the reason why they woke up this morning, they didn't wake themselves up. And the reason why they're able to be up is because Christ came and gave us that gift of life, and give the opportunity to be here, grace and mercy, the blessings that we get, all the blessings that we have, the fact that their mommy has a job, the fact that they're able to go to school, all of that is because of God. And
Mhm.
so it's a gift that is precious and that it can never be taken away, and so we have to be grateful for that gift. So that's the angle I come from in terms of them being appreciative of Christ for the season, but at the same time they know that it's a time for us to celebrate the gift that we got, so we will have fun and give thanks for the gift that we receive. So that's what I try to do, because
All
mine are younger, they're Gen Z's, they're not into the kids
right.
and all of that. Yeah.
Right. But what do you look forward to? What tradition do you look forward to, whether church or home?
Well,
Carla.
I like the Christmas morning services when we go and we sing the carols for me. And I also, as I said, like to watch the Jesus movie with my kids. So I have a toddler history, so he prefers to watch the animated version. So I'm always trying to find a nice animated one. So I'm looking forward to your book that will be coming out, the Christmas story. So I can read it to him as well, because it's the books are better sometimes to read with them than for them to just watch the animations on YouTube. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's for me. The
Well,
movies
I'll be
and the
having
carols.
both. Don't worry.
Yes. Thank you.
By the grace of God, it will be both. But in closing, because but in closing, I'm going to jump to one of the questions that says, "Have you ever created a nativity play?" And I'm not going to say nativity play, the Christmas story. Have you ever reenacted the Christmas story? And which part of the story itself stood out to you? And I'd love if my listeners and viewers would jump in and as well on the WhatsApp 32. Let me go again on the jump on the YouTube chat and tell me which story, which Christmas part of the Christmas story really stands out to you, right? And those who are listening, it's 34344. All right, I'm mixing it up. Let's move on. Go ahead, whichever
Yes,
anyone you can choose to tell me.
I'd be interested in reading the comments later to see what part of the Christmas story or the nativity stood out to so many people. For me, it was where Mary got that startling news because she's never known a man, and
Mm,
so this shocking information that you're with child is
Ah,
completely
must be blown away. And
unrealistic
she's
and
a preteen, wasn't she?
unexpected. And here was this girl. Yes, she was just a kid. And here's this girl. What she did was ponder things in her heart. She thought the thing through. She might have been terrified, but she quickly regained her composure and said, "Be it unto me as you've said." And that quiet resolve and quiet resignation to what God has willed for her life is what strikes me the most every single time.
And that's powerful, man. I didn't even look at that side. That's powerful. The fact that, and she was at that age, all the risks
Yeah,
involved, all the shame
yeah,
that may come, all of that, and she surrendered her will for the will of God.
yeah.
Carla,
That's it. That's surrender.
Yeah, the shock for Moses, for both, for me, for Joseph, more for Joseph than for Mary, you know? Because, I mean, this is a person that he was planning to get married to, and boom, she's a sweet child. And I talk about Holy Spirit. I mean, he should have been, I don't know how he would have fought on that and dealt with it. So that stands
Yeah.
out for me a lot. I mean, because even though we struggle with so much as Christians, and even when the word from God is clear and we get the confirmation, it's so hard for us to move. And the fact that he went out on faith and stuck by her side and followed through until she had the baby, it's just amazing. It could have only been God.
that could have
Could have
only
only
been
been
God. As
God.
Pastor Dale said
Yeah.
earlier, you would not want to change anything because it all has, every aspect of the Christmas story has a significance. Every aspect have it says something. So as you said, Joseph stood out to you. Somebody else may not have thought of Joseph, right? Mary stood out to you. Somebody may not have thought of that aspect of it all. But the bottom line is that there is something in it for every single person. Something will jump out to you. My amazement, even when I was working on this book that I'm working on here now, hopefully to upload today, I thought about Mary holding that baby in her arms. Matter of fact, I was just smiling at the picture. I'm going to be honest with you. I was just smiling because she held this baby in her arms, who is not, is really and truly the Christ, the precious people coming to tell you that he's gonna save people from their sin and all the, and you hold this tiny little thing in your hand and just looking at it smiling. That blew me away when I was preparing this book, because there's just something about a newborn baby. There's just something about, and then they get big and the story goes on. But then there's something about a newborn baby that is just so precious. Just so precious. A baby can unite people. A baby can unite a
Mm,
nation. A baby can unite.
really.
A baby is powerful, you know. As the song said, baby changes everything. So we continue on that. One person said in the chat, and as we close off this segment, says what the minister just said that stands out for her was Mary's life was a testimony of obedience to the Father. So the whole matter, Mary and
No,
Joseph are the original individuals who talk about walking in obedience. They were the original. Well, no, Abraham, those guys before. But I mean, in the New
Amen.
Testament, they would have been the original. Thank you so much for joining me today to share with me in this just a conversation. I'm grateful. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me. I know you all got your things doing, and it's early morning, and I'm very grateful. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Dr. Tiffany, and Pastor Matt being around the
thank
corner there.
you.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate you
Thank
coming.
you. Have a blessed day.
You too. Have a wonderful day. Bye, Pastor Tiffany. Bye, Carla. Thank you. Bye, Pastor Dale. Well, let me tell you, people, let me tell you, wonderful conversation. Wonderful conversation. And we are going to end that conversation here on the YouTube segment. You know, we have good talks on this place, you know. And we're going to come back tomorrow, God's willing, as we talk about mental wellness. And of course, I have a guest who will come and share with us about mental wellness because we want to be well. in our bodies, our minds, and our spirit, that we can give the Lord our very best. We want to give the Lord our best. We want to give the Lord our very best. I'm emphasizing, right? And so we want to talk about even this Christmas season where a lot of things happen and mentally we struggle with different things. We want to talk about those things tomorrow. I trust that you were blessed today. You got something from our conversation today. And I'd also love to hear, what is your favorite part of the story of Jesus, right? I'd love to know your favorite part. And I'd also love to know, what is your favorite Christmas tradition? I want to know. Share with us in the chat. You can even send us a message on WhatsApp. I don't know why I'm getting a tongue twister with it, and I'm not going to repeat it because I don't want the tongue twister right now. Oh, it's 825-343-4486. There we go. So you can send us a message in the WhatsApp chat, or just leave your comment when the conversation here has ended. You can leave your comment on YouTube. I'd love to know, what's your favorite tradition, whether it is at church or with your family, and what is your favorite part of the Christmas story? What jumps out at you? I'm your life coach and host, Renae, saying thank you for joining me. See you tomorrow in the YouTube segment. Bye bye.